Hey guys, and welcome to another season of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and in this season, we uncover the remarkable power of genuine compassion and insightful vision. This season, we're here to show the world that we, as individuals, are the brand, regardless of misconceptions. Join us as we go deep into the inspiring journeys of our guests, each one a testament to the impact and influence of kindness and creativity. Don't just take my word for it. Hear their stories, feel their passion, and discover the transformative potential within us all. So stay tuned as we shine a light on the truths that connects us and inspires change.
Hi, I'm Linzy Attenborough, and I am a writer, director, producer, and editor, and I'm on the Us People podcast presented by Savia Rocks.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I am humbled to have Linzy here with me, who is a producer, director, and editor. Linzy, thank you so much for taking your time to come on the Us People podcast. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for having me.
You are more than welcome. So I'm excited because I like the energy right here. So Linzy, my first question for you is, could you tell me about yourself, where you grew up, and how this influenced you to be the person who you are today?
Oh, what a question. So I think I'm quite privileged because my father's an academic professor.
Wow.
And my mother was an English teacher. She had many careers. She was in personnel, she was a course manager, and she was an English teacher. Many careers. But, you know, they're both very well educated. My father, when I was born, he was a lecturer. He wasn't yet a professor. That happened later in my life. And my mum was having a break. And we didn't have a lot of money because you don't make money as academics. And my mum didn't work until I was 5. She did some volunteering for an organisation called Youth for Understanding, which was between American, German and English young people. They would exchange, a student exchange. So we had a young girl called Susan come and live with us when I was about 5 or 6. American. So I think my household was fairly cosmopolitan. My cousin's family are from Ghana, and that had a really positive influence on me. They have amazing parties. I don't know if you know many Ghanaians, but they're very wonderful parties and make amazing food and listen to great music and dance. So that was a big part of my life. I'm a quarter Indian, but my father was brought up by 2 English parents. So that didn't really have any cultural effect, only really on my physical appearance and my father's physical appearance, and less on my brother's, though he's the same. He just looks more English. So my mum's Scottish, so I think Scottish culture had a big influence on me. We went to the Highlands, we went to lots of ceilidhs. We used to have a cottage on the Isle of Skye, which was, and that's one of the most beautiful places in the world if you haven't been. It's known as Elenoch Fioch in Gaelic. Wow. And that's Isle of Mist and the Misty Isles. So it's like you have this beautiful kind of purple haze at sunsets, and it's a really magical place with mountains, and that was a big influence. And I grew up in a town called Leighton Buzzard, which maybe isn't that exciting. It's a canal, Grand Union Canal goes out there, and it's countryside. And I went to a regular state school until I was 13, and I had the privilege with my school choir to be in the London Palladium in Josephine Technicolor Dreamcoat in the children's chorus, which was an incredible opportunity, and I loved it, and I loved performing so much that I wanted to go to performing arts school, and the government gave me some money so that I could afford to go to this school in Tring, the Arts Educational School in Tring, which was a Rothschild manor, and that sort of built far away from the station, because the Rothschilds, they had zebras and they didn't want to be disturbed by the trains, so they had the train station built miles away from Tring, where their manor is. So I couldn't. I commuted, but I shared a lift. I was a day girl. Apart from my final term, where they paid for me to board so I could be in the final show. So I was there up until I was 16, and then I moved to London and I went to the Brit School of Performing Arts and Technology, and that was where I developed an interest in film, because I was able to do film studies there, and they had a good film department, and I met a lot of people studying film, and I saw what could be done with film. But I always loved films. I wanted to be an actor, first of all, because I love films and I love the characters in films. But as I grew up, I realised that my interests were behind the camera, were writing and directing and creating and being the painter, being the creator of the scene, rather than the characters within them, though they're incredibly important. So that's kind of how I changed. And then when I was 23, because I'm a quarter Indian and I hadn't kind of explored that side of my roots, I went and did an apprenticeship in India so I could explore my roots and study film. I retrained to be a filmmaker at 23. I made I did lots of work placements, lots of work experience. And then I made my own documentary for a charity of the people that I was living with. I was in lodgings, and the people I lived with, the Qataris, they had a charity, a Christian charity. And I made a short documentary about Dalit oppression and to raise money for their charity. So I guess that's kind of answers your question.
Oh yeah, it does, and really well. I love that. So it's funny that when you say, because I'm half Indian, and then you're saying so my mum's Indian. So it's I love it when people say where they're from, because it gives me so much to know that we can be anywhere in the world and look and our features are just so anywhere, but all of them are beautiful in their own way, in their own aspects. But it's so phenomenal to know that, you know, where you come from, where you were brought up, why you started film, which leads me on to my next question in a way, which is, can you define yourself as a person, Linzy, but also who do you see when you look in the mirror? But on the flip side of that question, our face is like, whoa. Has there ever been a time where you have looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you manage to go from a person that you may not have necessarily liked in a positive way to becoming the person that you felt had purpose within yourself?
Another huge question. So I think that none of us are really definable as anything. And I don't know that I would want to put anyone into a category, let alone myself. But so, because I'm many things, and I'm different things with different people, and I'm different things to different people. I have battled with confidence. When I was younger, I battled with my mental health, and that really affected because I did hurtful things to people because of my mental health, and that affected my self-esteem hugely, because I didn't like what I had done, I didn't like what I had said, and I didn't like who I was, it's taken a lot to recover from that, and I know that's something that so many people go through. And but it has been a journey to recover from that. But now I don't recognize myself in a positive way, because maybe 10 years ago, I wouldn't imagine that I would be here talking to you now, being able to say, I'm working as a producer, I'm working as a director, you know, achieving my dreams, making actual films that I, you know, just dreamed of making maybe even 5-6 years ago. But you know, it's, you know, it starts to happen and you can't believe it and you can't really recognize who you are, but in a positive way now.
See, this is what I like when people, it doesn't matter what you're going through, you show people that they can make a change within themselves for them to do exactly what they want in their life. That's what I love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, whatever you're going through, it will pass. You know, it's the Chinese proverb, this too will pass. It's absolutely true, no matter what you're going through in your life. And I would say to people that, you know, battle now with their self-esteem or, you know, perhaps are insecure about their mental health, perhaps have anxiety, perhaps have depression, that you can still, it's not an excuse, and you will achieve everything you intend to. You know, so those two things are important.
Those, to be fair, those are enough to highlight people and help people move forward in what they want to do. So my next question for you is, okay, you decided to go into film. Film is a massive industry, but I'm proud of you, especially when there are more women in the industry of film and producing and directing. I would love for you, before we go into the different factors of what you do, I would love for you to explain the passion, the inspiration and the creativity of what you do.
So I fell in love with old films as a child. I fell in love with classic cinema and the stories and the characters. And, you know, I would feel lonely, but if I'd watch a film, I'd feel connected with the world. I'd feel like I was going to another place. I was escaping from where I was, who I was. And film has that power. Yes. It also has the power to show you somebody else's perspective. And I think in the world, that's what we don't do enough. We argue and we're like, I'm right, you're wrong, you look at life in this way, I look at life in this way. I think one of the most beautiful things and one of the most important things that we need to be able to do is see that there are different perspectives, yes, that people are coming from different directions. In film, you can actually show somebody, not only what you see, how you see what you see, how you want them to see what, you know. So and then the beauty of drama and fantasy and is that you're creating characters, and these characters, they all see the world in different ways. So you're transporting people to, you can show people what's in somebody's head. You can show somebody what somebody imagines, what somebody's afraid of, what somebody's excited by, and you can go on that journey. And obviously art is about reflection, and it's probably one of the most important things to any civilization is to be able to reflect, to be able to understand others, to be able to question how we live and what we do, yes, and who we are. And that's how we learn and that's how we grow. So it's I think, completely essential to the world and to the universe.
See, this is what I like, the way that you express that. Exactly the way that you express that is what we needed. So when it comes to, I would actually like to ask you, what was the one film, it just came into my head spontaneously, but what was the one film that connected you to want to go into film? If there was a film or a documentary, because I know you said you like really
there was, but it wasn't. So I think I think maybe I must have been 19, yes, when I watched Mike Leigh's Naked. Now, it won the Palme d'Or, I think, in 1993 or 1996, but a long time before I watched it. But there was an Primetime Videos, yes, 1999 in Earl's Court. I was living with my aunt, and there was Primetime Videos. I was working in Harrods, in men's grooming, selling aftershave, and I would walk home often because it wasn't too far from Knightsbridge to Earl's Court. Probably quite a long walk, but not that far. and I would walk home and I would walk past primetime videos where they sold lots of old and indie videos, and I would buy them like really cheaply, from my not particularly affluent earnings as a Harrods temp. I would watch these videos, and that would be my entertainment for the evening. And one of these films was Naked by Mike Lee, and it's quite disturbing. It's really interesting characters, and I learned about how Mike Lee used to work with actors, or I knew a little bit about how he used to devise. He used to have actors that he really liked to work with, and he developed the characters with the actors, and he would devise, and that really excited me when I was kind of still an actor.
Yes.
So he's one of my favorite directors when I was still an actor, and this was kind of the turning point when I moved from acting to directing. So I remember really taking an interest because I found these characters really believable to a level and with a layer and a depth that I didn't see that much in cinema in around about 99. I don't think we had nearly as much of these sort of really interesting, in-depth characters. So I was, so I think that was the film where I started taking an interest in directing.
Yes.
And writing, I suppose.
Because that's something else I wanted to go into, because you kind of go into your own mind. So, for example, say you have this long, beautiful scripts that you're ready to put out in the world, but then you also have to have a cast and pick the right people in order to get the right emotion when directing. How do you see, this is the fun part, how do you direct and produce, depending on obviously what the film is or the documentary is that you're doing? How do you go into your emotional state? Because sometimes it's hard to take your emotions out of your work as well. How do you do that?
So I don't think I take my emotions out of my work. I think I am an emotional person.
I like that.
And I'm self-employed, so I get to be myself. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I do freelance, and sometimes am representing others. Yeah. But most of the time, I'm representing myself, and therefore I'm comfortable with who I am and being myself and expressing my emotions. But I think there's so many different things to that, because there's one thing which is when you're the writer and it's taking criticism and taking feedback.
That's the one.
And another thing when you're the producer and you're the one giving feedback and criticism. And then there's another thing when you're the director and you're trying to create the vision and inspire people. So and all of those roles involve inspiring people. All of it is about inspiring people. So I was so lucky. I went to a performing arts school from the age of 13. So we would be devising together from that very early age. That's what we were doing. And usually one person's idea would win, or we'd collaborate and everybody's ideas would be involved. But we'd all be pitching ideas to each other, and that would be part of the process. And you either went with somebody else's idea or you fought for your own. So I think everybody is more excited by their own ideas, and I think being aware of that, because everybody's there's something about being able to create something that you imagine, which is magic. So obviously everybody wants that, but obviously the more of a collaboration, the more of the richness of all the different ideas that you have together. Because in a film, it is completely collaborative. You have a writer. Sometimes many of these roles could be done by one person, but often they're not. You have a writer, you have a producer, you have a director, you have a director of photography, you have a production designer, you have a costume designer. So all of these people, and you have a sound designer, and you have a composer. But anyway, everybody is putting their interpretation of the vision into the film and their ideas, and it is a team creation, and it's the richness of that creation because of the diverse and different points of view come together that we eventually see. And that's what's exciting. And sometimes when you don't have that kind of collaboration, for example, on a documentary, it might only be me, because the budget might be such that I'm self-shooting, editing, and direct producing. So sometimes, but for me, that's very thin. And it's wonderful to have the team, because that makes something rich and beautiful and exciting. But there's joy. I mean, when you're working on your own, it's very quick, because there's only one decision maker.
That is true. No, that is very. One of the things that I would like to ask you is, what is a common misconception about your field that you would like to clear up?
Ooh, well, I think people don't know what a producer does.
Yes.
Because there are so many different types of producers.
I agree with that.
So you have an executive producer that will generally come on board to either package and finance the film, as in financially package, raise the money, or get the distribution, sell the film, and that would be the executive producer. Then you have a creative producer who'll come on board from the beginning to work on the script, to develop the film, and then to work with a line producer for the actual production of the film. And the line producer will do all the hiring and firing below the line, and put the team together, do all the contracts for the team. And then you have, so these are many different types of producers. So people don't really understand what that role is and what I do. But then I guess I expect everybody does it differently. Yeah. So maybe it's good that it is vague.
Talk to me about also directing. Are there different forms of being a director also?
Of course. I mean, so I don't suppose there's one type of director. So I studied acting, first of all. So I like to think that I'm an actor's director. But as I've kind of moved away from performing, until recently, I performed with my friend's band, and I did my first stand-up comedy quite recently. So this is a new thing that I'm now putting myself back into performing. But I kind of come so far away from that I've become very technical, and I've become more of a kind of technical director. But I think what was good about me was that I did train to be an actor, and that I came from an acting background, and that I understood and I empathized and I understood what they had to do. But, some directors, they wouldn't give direction to the actors at all, because they come from a cinematography background or an editing background. So they're more about, how are they going to tell the story? What are the shots going to be? Rather than kind of organically growing the movement. So, but then, somebody could be all of those things. So I don't suppose there's not one voice or one type of film, is there? So there isn't one way of going about it. So again, that job is whatever you make it.
That is true. I'm just thinking about that now, and that is actually really, really true. Because obviously, like you said, what you see, the vision in your head of what you see, but that's another question to ask you as well. Because, for example, you are trying to pull the vision from somebody else's head. How does that work for you? Because you have your vision in your mind creatively and emotionally, like we spoke about before, of how you see things. But when you are doing something from a different person's perspective, how do you pull out their emotions to make their reality of what they see come to life in the film?
Well, I think I have learned over time not to inflict my interpretation on other people. I think as a younger director, I would have my interpretation, and I try to imprint my interpretation on others, whereas I have now learned to listen and empower and enhance somebody else's interpretation. So it's so it's going to be the actor's interpretation of their character. That's what we're going to see, and I'm going to try and enhance that now, rather than try to get them to see it my way. If I've written it, it might be slightly different, because I'll be able to explain what I meant when I was writing it.
Absolutely.
But, if I'm directing it, I can only explain how I interpreted it. And obviously I might share my interpretation and how that's different, but it will be something that we create together, which will be the end result.
See, I love that. If there was one question that you wished people would ask you, but they rarely do, what question would that be and why?
Oh, wow. How are we going to create world peace? I
Oh,
don't
I'll
have
be
an
with
answer
you.
for it. It would be a good question
Do you know
for
it
people to
would?
ask.
I'm even thinking about that myself now. Because no one is ever satisfied. Does that make sense, Linzy? No one is ever satisfied. So, for example, if me and you turn around and come to a decision of we're going to create world peace by helping people, there's no poverty, for example. There's no poverty. Everyone can eat and we're all on the same level. There are going to be people, might be the 1%, but there are going to be people in the world who will not agree with that, who won't want that, because they think that everything has to be on a certain level where there are people who are above and below. Where I believe in life that nobody is above you or below you, and I think we're all equal. But that's my mindset, because obviously I think from a world of peace. But it's a very interesting question if you had, how would you start it? If you said, okay, let's create world peace, how would world peace start for you?
Through education, I
That's
think.
key.
So for me, I think people kill each other and people hate each other because they're ignorant of where other people are coming from. So yes, film is one medium, but just the grassroots education, being able to read, different things that people have written and being able to understand and being able. So the problem now is that people don't know when they're being fed fake news because people don't know how to analyze facts. They don't know how to analyze text, which, they don't know how to look at a source and see who is telling me this? Where is this person coming from? What is their experience? What is their educational background? Who are they that's telling me this particular idea that they are presenting, and why are they presenting that idea? And I think that is a huge problem. So education, even in this country where people are educated, they don't know what is fake news and they don't check who is telling them what they are telling them. Who am I to tell you this? What is my educational background? Do I have that? No, I'm not a scholar. This is just my opinion and it is not research. But I do care who is telling me and providing me with particular information. And, I have enough of an education to be able to kind of analyze a text or analyze a news source or, a documentary. And I think that is what we all need. So that would be a start, because then you couldn't brainwash people to... That would be an education that people understand that people, although they look different, they are, everyone is human. We're not different species, just things like that. Homophobia, the people are people's sexuality is on a spectrum, in my opinion, we're all people, so it's kind of, education as trying to get rid of ignorance and prejudice. That would be the start. Yes, before it's too late.
I think giving a lot of love as well helps.
Yes.
I think love is a powerful thing.
Yes.
I think love is what you said as well. Education. I think it upset me the other day when I was seeing books being burnt, because they're trying to take, the education away, and the real education of where history came from. And it's a part of all of us. We're all, we're all from somewhere in the world. But you burning these books doesn't help. The people, as a writer as well, it hurts me because words have power.
Yes, and somebody, I can't remember how many books, but they've banned in the US. Trump has banned like another 2,000 books. Books that I studied in my school education, like Animal Farm. It's banned, and it's unbelievable. The mind boggles.
We could talk about this forever. I'm sure we can. That's the thing. But I know there is enough of us in the world, and maybe that's my optimism, to change things. They may have the power, but we have the gift. So in order for things to proceed, we need to keep fighting, because we have a voice. Our voices are powerful, and sometimes I feel like we give the power to people who feel like they are privileged in order for them to feel like they have the power to take over. But I know a change is coming. Change always comes. Change is the one thing that we cannot change, like not accept. I've learned that in life. If something's going to change, it's going to happen, Lindsay. And that's one thing I've learned. So
yes, we have to be able to adapt to change, because part of getting older. So I grew up, before mobile phones, and we didn't have internet. We didn't have social media, so we've got to adapt to this world, and to be part of it, and to have a voice, and to use it, as you say. And you've given me the privilege of being able to use my voice. But I know what you mean. A lot of people that are attracted to positions of power,
yes,
often only see the world in one way. And they misuse their power because they're being attracted because of power, as opposed to because they want to do something for the universe.
I've learned that sometimes power suppresses their insecurities. And that is a powerful statement even to be said. A lot of people who have power use their power to inflict it on other people because of their insecurities. And insecurities can stem from trauma from a very, very young age. And that is a whole nother subject to talk about within itself.
Well, I think boarding schools, very schools, and
so
the people being sent away to boarding schools probably causes trauma.
Yes.
And then a lot of them become politicians. And they're very they have huge insecurity complexes. Theoretically.
I like the fact that you said that. What is the best advice, Lindsay, that you have ever received from someone? Take into account, I know in our daily lives, everything, like I said, always changes at different points in our life. We change. But has there ever been a point in your life where somebody has given you advice that you always take with you?
So I think one of the best, I've given you one of my best. There's the Chinese proverb, this too will pass, no matter what you're going through. That one is huge. Expressing yourself by saying, I think. I can't remember if it was my mother or my father, but it's important when we express our opinions, we recognize that they are our own opinions. And I still forget to say, I think, but I'm aware that everything I'm saying is my opinion as opposed to a fact. But I think that expressing myself in that way really helps. It really helps not to argue with others.
I agree with that one.
And I think accepting that everybody has different political beliefs and everybody has different spiritual beliefs, and we all come from different places, and that respecting other people's beliefs and where they come from, and not trying to inflict my ideals on other people. I think learning that was huge, and I can't remember who taught that to me, or when I was given that advice, or how I learned that, but I think that was vital. That's really good advice. I think not giving up and keeping going, and also adapting and going in plotting different routes. If you feel like you're hitting your head against a brick wall, then just change direction a little bit, but still go to the same place.
Yes.
I don't know, all of these are pearls of wisdom.
No, they're really good pearls of wisdom, to be quite fair, and I wish people said them more often. So if I was to say to you, one of my favorite questions is about judgment. We all get judged in some way, and sometimes that has an effect on who we are and how we portray ourselves in the world. But if I said to you, Linzy, if the word judgment was not in the dictionary and nobody was judging you, what do you believe that you would do differently in your life?
What would I do differently without judgment? I don't know that other people's judgment has affected me or prevented me from doing or behaving in a certain way. I think it's really important. I mean, it's impossible not to make any judgments. You know, for example, how we travel somewhere because of the weather. Like, I don't want to get on a bus because the bus will be too hot. It's still a judgment. I'm making a judgment. It's a rational judgment, but it's a judgment. But I try not to judge other people and try to imagine that, you know, where they're coming from and why they behave in the way that they behave. And I try to act with, as you say, compassion and love and without judgment. But it's not easy. But I do catch myself if I am judging someone, or try to catch myself and try not to do it. But I don't think I live in fear of other people's judgment, which is a huge thing to say. But I really don't think I do. I don't think there's a part of me that, I think I'm 45 now, and I think I've reached a point where I don't care what other people think of me. Not very much. I don't. I used to go places on my own a lot more, and I really didn't worry about people looking at me and thinking, "Oh, that's a weirdo. That person's on their own." But I'm kind of a little bit out of practice of that, and so sometimes I will get a bit of social anxiety if I'm on my own. Yeah. But I'm pushing myself and doing more things on my own again, you know, to do more things so that I don't, because I love that, being brave enough to just do what I wanted to do as opposed to what everybody else wanted to do. So I think that I'm still doing it, but yeah, I did have some of that social anxiety, but really not that much. I'm really not that fearful of other people's opinions or judgment.
I think as we get older, we realize it's not worth it, to be quite fair. You know, and the person judging you is usually the one that's insecure of themselves anyways. I think most of the time that's usually the case. But sometimes they see a confidence in you that they wish they had themselves. That's another thing I've also learned as well. So I know music plays a huge part in most of our lives. So if I said to you, Linzy, if there was one song that was the soundtrack of your life, what song would you choose, and why would you choose that particular song?
Oh, wow. A huge question. And I discovered, because Spotify told me, that I'm in like the top 0% of people. I listen to more music on Spotify than I'm like in the very most, in the like 0.7, like really ridiculous amount of music I listen to, and I'm constantly listening to new music. But even when I'm not playing music, there's music in my mind, there's music in my head, and I feel like I have a soundtrack to my life. Ooh. And one of my favorite things is just with my headphones, just walking across London, like just having time and not having to be anywhere, and just walking and listening to music. And I love that. So to break my life down into one song, there isn't one song. There's not even one genre of music. But when I'm feeling low, I listen to a lot of disco music, because I find it like disco, because it really picks me up. If I'm angry, I listen to a lot of rock, and it's quite good, you know, kind of to match
understand that one. Yep.
my mood. but I don't have one song that is an anthem for my life just yet.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, I don't have to, not just the one.
To be fair, you don't have to. I just find it really interesting to find out what music people like and why they like that particular music and how it uplifts them, because there are different notes within music that triggers different emotions within people. When I was studying, and I love that. So
funky disco, it makes me happy. So that's a good, that's my soul, I think.
I love that. So if I took you on a desert island and I said to you, Linzy, you're allowed to take one president, one activist, and one musician to have a conversation with, even possibly make a film with, who would you take on that island and why?
Dead or alive?
Whichever you desire.
Okay. So one musician.
One musician. One president.
Yeah, one politician.
One musician.
Or activist.
One activist and one president.
One activist, one government, one politician, current politician.
Anyone you choose.
But they can be dead or alive.
They can be dead or alive.
Okay. Wow. So musician, oh gosh, who am I going to take? Tina Turner.
Oh, that's a good one.
You said dead or alive. Yeah, so Tina 100%. Turner's coming to my mind.
Yep, okay.
Yeah. So I've narrowed it down to Tina Turner. I think she'd be a really great company and I love her voice. Politician. Oh gosh. Can it? You said or activist?
Yeah, you said.
Can I go for Martin Luther King?
Of course you can. Yep. 100%.
Yes, we'll have him.
Yep.
So we've got musician, activist, and who else do I take?
President. If you want to take a president, because sometimes people
no, I don't think so. I don't think I would. There's nobody in government now or has been that I know was great. Yeah, no.
That I know was great.
I'd want to be stuck on an island with. I mean, it's a long time.
It is a long time, especially if it's like 42 to 72 hours. You've got to be with them for a little while. So you have to at least get along with them and want to have a conversation with them.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I've got some strong personalities on my island already. But, breakfast won't be boring.
No, it won't be. Not at all. I'll be looking with my binoculars from the boat, going, I can see some serious movement. So, Linzy, I've only got two more for you. So my second to last one is one of the ones I love, which is about legacy. A lot of people believe that legacy is about you when you pass away. I don't necessarily believe that is true. I believe legacy is when you're also alive and you inspire people, you give them words of wisdom, you're there for them when they need them, they pass on that wisdom to someone else. Legacy has so many different definitions, but in your interpretation, what would you say legacy means to you?
So I think I'd agree that you can pass something on, or an idea or a concept, and you can be alive when you're doing it.
Yes.
I would agree with you. We can be alive and we can inspire people, or we can be we can inspire people without knowing it. We can inspire somebody just by smiling at them on a day when they're feeling unattractive.
Yeah.
We can inspire people just by by talking to them, by listening to them. We don't know when we might inspire someone or where we might start a ripple in the universe that will continue. And so I'd agree with you. We could be alive, we could be dead, and our legacy can live on just whenever we start a ripple.
I like that. It's like a simple way of saying it, but effective. My last question for you, Linzy, is I would love for everyone to be able to find you, to find out what you do, to find out more about your personality. of who you are as a person, and if they would like to get in contact with you, how would they do that?
So I am on all the mediums. I am on Facebook, Instagram. I think I'm on whatever was Twitter. But we wanted to get the listeners, because I've got a feature film coming out. Well, I'm very excited about a couple of films, but I've got the Alice Paradox, which is a feature film that was going to be coming out in September that I'm the producer of. Or later this year. We're saying September. We're in post. We're doing the sound design. It's going to take about 6 weeks, and the color grade, final stages of post production. So we'd love you to check out the Alice Paradox. And I'm also very excited because because I love directing as well as producing, and I've just been asked to direct a film called Mirror Image. But we've just put it on IMDb. We haven't got a website yet, but you can find out what I'm up to on Instagram or on Facebook. Those are my main mediums to keep people informed. And I've both got a professional page and a personal page. It doesn't really make a difference. No.
I would love to say, guys, support Linzy. Go and check out the films.
Linzy Attenborough, but no relation to the great David or Richard.
Oh, the way you say that, you never know.
I would have loved it. But I'm Indian on that side. So I would be Linzy Partark. My grandfather was actually Anand Partark, who did present radio. He presented for All India Radio, and he was a great scholar. But my father was adopted by Frank Attenborough, hence the surname.
Oh, that's so cool. See, you gave me even more information about you. See, that's so amazing. See, guys, please support. We are all about supporting each other, especially within creativity, no matter what your field is. And this is where I say to you, Linzy, thank you so much for taking your time to come on the Us People podcast, for showing us your personality.
Finally.
For showing us the love of what you do, how you do it, and how you also help to educate other people in the world. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You too. Have a wonderful evening.
And you
Take
too.
care.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to the Us People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. You can also listen to us on Wednesdays on the Heart Songs Live at 9 p.m. UK time, and listen to us every Tuesday where we put out a new episode of the Us People podcast for you guys to listen to. And the most important part is, thank you so much for listening again. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another. Take care, guys.
Society has made me want to validate me from my illusion that awaits me, from how the people will perceive me. It's my illusion that awaits me. We fight our war with ourselves. Our mental health is silencing us from our heart. Social media is taking our time from connecting with each other soul to soul. Why we dance on TikTok, strike a post on Instagram, fight the world on a Twitter feed, link a thing on Snapchat. Why we dance on TikTok, strike a post on a Instagram, fight the world on a Twitter feed, link a thing on Snapchat. Why we dance on TikTok? Inside me, but the social media's corrupting me from being who I am every day. Different possibilities within inside me. We fight in our war with ourselves.